Hi, welcome to our channel of Ignouaudiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, Certificate Programs, Certificate in Nutrition and Child Care, CNCC, CNCC-1 Nutrition for the Community Economics of Food, BLOCK-2 Basic Concepts in Nutrition, 2, Unit-5 The Micronutrients-II, Minerals. 5.1, Introduction. In the earlier units you studied about the complex organic compounds carbohydrates, fats, proteins and vitamins. These vital compounds carry out various body functions. They provide energy, support growth and development and also perform protective and regulatory functions. Along with these compounds, a set of inorganic elements called minerals are also required by the body. Minerals are defined as those elements which largely remain as ash when plant or animal tissues are completely burnt. Like vitamins, minerals are micronutrients which perform regulatory and protective functions. The human body contains as many as 19 minerals in widely varying amounts. The total mineral content of the body is, however, small and accounts for only 4 to 6% of the total body weight. Some of the important minerals found in our body include calcium, phosphorus, iron, iodine, sodium, potassium, zinc and chloride. All these minerals are, of course, derived from the food we eat. Of the minerals we have just mentioned, some are required in larger amounts and others in much smaller amounts, as you will learn in this unit. Remember, however, that the total amount of minerals required by the body is small. Let us now study some of the minerals required by our body, the role they play, their food sources and their absorption and utilization by the body. Objectives. After studying this unit, you will be able to define the term mineral, differentiate between minerals required in larger amounts and smaller amounts, describe the functions performed by these minerals in the body, list the food sources of each of these minerals and discuss the absorption and excretion of each specific mineral. 5.2 Minerals required in larger amounts. We have just mentioned some of the minerals required by our body. Of these, calcium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium, chloride and magnesium are the minerals required in larger amounts by the body. This set of minerals constitutes more than 3/4 of the total mineral content of the body. Figure 5.1 reflects this proportion. Figure 5.1 Some minerals required by the body. Look at the screen for table content. Let us now begin the study of minerals with calcium and phosphorus. You may wonder why we are discussing calcium and phosphorus together. This is because they work in coordination with each other. In fact, such coordinated activity is typical of minerals. 5.2.1 Calcium and phosphorus. Of all the minerals found in our body, calcium and phosphorus are by far present in the largest amount. Together these two minerals account for 75% of the total mineral content of the body. The human body contains approximately 1,200 grams of calcium, most of which is present in bones and teeth and the remaining in soft tissues and in the body fluids. On the other hand, only 400 to 700 grams of phosphorus is contained in the body. Like calcium, most of it is also present in bones and teeth and the remaining in soft tissues and body fluids. Functions. What role do calcium and phosphorus play in our body? Calcium and phosphorus basically serve two important functions in the body, one relating to the development of bones and teeth and the other to the regulation of body processes. 1. Development of bones and teeth. Calcium and phosphorus are mainly present in bones and teeth. The ratio of calcium and phosphorus in the bones is roughly 2 to 1. Calcium in the bone combines with phosphorus, some other minerals and water to form a compound. It is this compound which provides rigidity and firmness to the bones. Teeth, like the bones, also require calcium for their proper development. It is for this reason that the need for calcium is the most during their growing years. 2. Regulation of body processes. Apart from building bones and teeth, calcium and phosphorus performs regulatory functions as well. Calcium helps in A. Regulating the contraction and relaxation of muscles, especially that of the heart. B. Regulating the passage of substances into and out of the cells. C. Conveying messages from one nerve cell to another, and D. The clotting of blood. Phosphorus also performs several important functions. It is required for the A. Formation of a substance which aids in transport of fat in the blood. B. Synthesis of certain coenzymes which play a crucial role in metabolism. C. Formation of certain basic genetic material. This genetic material is involved in passing on of specific characteristics from parents to children, and D. Capture and storage of vital energy in the cells of many tissues by forming a high-energy compound. Muscle tissue is a prominent example where phosphorus helps in energy storage and thus fuels muscle contraction. Food sources. Which foods provide good amounts of calcium? Milk and milk products like curd, khoa, chenar, cottage cheese, are excellent sources of calcium. Foods like fish, for example chingari, keela, especially dried fish, and other seafoods, for example crab, shrimp, provide substantial quantities of calcium. Among the plant sources, rargai, a millet grown in South India, is particularly rich in calcium. Pulses like Bengal gram, black gram, green gram, moth beans, rajma, soybean contribute substantial amounts of calcium. Green leafy vegetables, like amaranth leaves, colocasia leaves, fenugreek leaves, mustard leaves, also contain good amounts. Among nuts and oilseeds, gingerly, till seed is particularly rich in calcium. Others like coconut, almonds, walnuts have a fairly good amount of calcium. As for the sources of phosphorus, a diet that furnishes enough protein and calcium would normally provide sufficient phosphorus. Eggs, milk, poultry, fish are excellent sources of phosphorus. Cereals too are rich sources of this mineral. Absorption and utilization. Calcium is absorbed chiefly from the upper part of the intestine. Normally it is seen that from an average Indian diet only 20 to 30% of calcium gets absorbed. The rest is excreted in the feces. The absorbed calcium is then used to perform various functions, as has been discussed earlier. Part of the absorbed calcium is also excreted in the urine, but the amount is very small. We mentioned earlier that only a small proportion of the calcium in the diet is absorbed. What are the reasons for this? You will find the answer as you read about the factors influencing calcium absorption. Let us now study these factors and try to understand how they influence calcium absorption. The factors include A. Body need. The efficiency of absorption of calcium increases during periods of rapid growth, i.e. infancy, childhood, pregnancy, lactation. When the body's demand for calcium increases, the absorption of calcium also increases to meet this increased demand. You will study more about this in Block 3. B. Nutrients in the diet. Certain nutrients like vitamin D, protein and carbohydrate present in the diet help to improve absorption of calcium. Figure 5.2. Figure 5.2. Nutrients that increase calcium absorption. Look at the screen for table content. Another nutrient that influences calcium absorption is phosphorus. In fact, the proportion of calcium and phosphorus in the diet affects calcium absorption. Excess phosphorus tends to lower calcium absorption. C. Inhibitors. Inhibitors are substances present in food which hinder calcium absorption. You have learnt earlier that cereals and green leafy vegetables are rich in calcium. But all the calcium present in these foods is not available to the body. This is because these food items have some substances, such as phytates in cereals and oxalates in green leafy vegetables, present in them, which bind calcium and inhibit its absorption. So far you have read about absorption and excretion of calcium. Let us now study about absorption and excretion of phosphorus. as in the case of calcium. Absorption of phosphorus also takes place from the upper part of the small intestine. However, a considerable amount of phosphorus in cereals, pulses and nuts exists in a bound form which is not absorbed. The body takes in only the free form. The absorbed phosphorus then gets used in the body and performs various functions as has been discussed earlier. Check your progress exercise -1-1. Fill in the blanks. A. The total mineral content of the body amounts to blank % of the total body weight. B. The minerals blank and blank are present in the largest amounts in our body. C. Blank and blank are rich sources of calcium. D. Absorption of calcium/phosphorus takes place in the blank. E. Blank present in green leafy vegetables and cereals interfere with absorption of calcium/phosphorus. 2. List the factors that increase and decrease calcium absorption. 5.2.2 Sodium. An adult body contains approximately 120 grams of sodium. Most of this is present in the extracellular fluid. Extracellular fluid refers to the fluid outside the cell just as intracellular fluid refers to fluid inside the cell. Figure 5.3. One example of extracellular fluid is blood plasma. You may remember that blood has two parts, cells and plasma. The term plasma refers to the fluid part of the blood. Let us now learn what role sodium plays in our body. Potassium is mainly present in the fluid inside the cell. Intracellular, sodium and chloride are present mainly in the fluid outside the cell. Extracellular, Figure 5.3 Minerals present in the body fluids. Look at the screen for table content -functions. Some of the important functions of sodium are listed here. A. Regulating the balance of extracellular and intracellular fluid. Sodium, the principal mineral in the extracellular fluid, is responsible for maintaining the fluid balance. By fluid balance, we mean the process of maintaining a balance between the fluid present within the cells, intracellular, and that circulating outside the cells, extracellular. Sodium along with potassium, another mineral, helps to maintain this balance. B. Regulating the alkalinity and acidity of the body fluids. Sodium tends to make the body fluids alkaline. Another mineral, namely chloride, present in the body fluids tends to make them acidic. Sodium combines with chloride in the fluid and together they help maintain the balance between the alkalinity and acidity of the body fluids. C. Aiding in the passage of messages from one nerve cell to another. D. Aiding the contraction of muscles. And E. Regulating the passage of substances into and out of the cell. Food sources. Do you know what items in our diet provide maximum sodium? You are familiar with common table salt, which is nothing but sodium chloride. Common table salt is the principal source of sodium in our diet. 1 teaspoon of salt provides almost 2000 milligrams sodium. Other rich sources of sodium include milk, egg white, meat, poultry, fish among the animal foods, and green leafy vegetables, such as spinach, fenugreek leaves, and pulses among the plant sources. Absorption and excretion. Sodium ingested is readily absorbed by the digestive tract and used for various body functions. The excess amount of sodium over and above body needs is lost from the body through urine, sweat, and feces. Sodium losses are high whenever we sweat more as in hot weather. Any disease condition in which water is lost from the body also causes excessive sodium loss. A common example is diarrhea, i.e. loose motions. Excessive sodium loss is not good as it affects the fluid balance of the body. This requires special attention. Intake of fluids and salt should be increased during such times so as to make up for the loss. The major regulation of the amount of sodium in the body is done by the kidneys by varying the total amount of urine excreted. When intake of sodium increases, excretion increases, and when intake decreases, excretion decreases. This process helps to keep the body concentration of sodium within normal limits. 5.2.3 Potassium. Potassium is present in twice as much amount as sodium in the body. Approximately 250 grams of potassium is contained in the body, and most of this is present in the cells, i.e. in the intracellular fluid. When you read this section, you we'll find how closely the functions of sodium and potassium are interlinked. Functions. The functions of potassium include A. Regulation of the balance of intracellular and extracellular fluid. Potassium, along with sodium, helps maintain fluid balance within the cell and outside the cell. You have learnt earlier that sodium is the main mineral present in extracellular fluid, the fluid outside the cell. Potassium, on the other hand, is the principal mineral in the intracellular fluid, figure 5.3. Together these two minerals help maintain fluid balance. B. Regulation of the alkalinity/acidity of body fluids. Potassium, like sodium, is alkaline. It combines with chloride, which is acidic, and together they help maintain the acidity, alkalinity of body fluids. C. Role in muscle activity. Potassium has a significant role in the activity of skeletal and heart muscle. It helps in the transmission of messages, which results in the contraction of muscle tissue. Food sources. Potassium is widely distributed in foods. Meat, poultry and fish are good sources. Among the plant food, pulses, fruits, vegetables, especially the /green leafy vegetables, are good sources of potassium. The water of the tender coconut is, however, the best source of potassium. Among the other fruits and vegetables, bananas, potatoes, carrots, tomatoes and lemons contain appreciable amounts of this mineral. Whole grain cereals also provide some amounts of potassium. Absorption and excretion. What happens to potassium once it enters the body? Potassium gets absorbed from the upper part of the intestine. The absorbed potassium then gets used up to perform the various body functions discussed earlier. Excess potassium is excreted in the urine and the feces. You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learn IGNOU 5.2.4 Chloride. The body contains approximately 100 grams of chloride, and most of this is found in the extracellular fluid, especially in the blood plasma. The rest of the chloride is present inside the cell. Chloride is present in the extracellular fluid as sodium chloride and in the cell as potassium chloride. Functions. The functions of sodium, potassium and chloride are closely interlinked, as is evident from our earlier discussion. Chloride combines with sodium and potassium and helps regulate fluid balance and acidity/alkalinity of body fluids. Food sources. Chloride is widely distributed in all plant food. But the most important source of chloride in our diet is common table salt, i.e. sodium chloride. Absorption and excretion. Chloride is readily absorbed from the upper part of the intestine. Excess chloride, as in the case of sodium, is excreted in the urine and to a lesser extent through the sweat and the feces. Check your progress. Exercise 2.1. Define the following. A. Extracellular fluid. B. Intracellular fluid. C. Fluid balance. 2. Fill in the blanks. A. Is the main mineral present in the intracellular fluid, middle dot, and blank present in extracellular fluid. B. Chloride is present in blank as sodium chloride and in as potassium chloride. C. Blank is the principal sources of sodium and chloride in our diet. D. Bananas, potatoes, lemons, tomatoes contain large amounts of blank. E. The blank play a major role in regulating the amount of sodium in the body. 5.2.5. Magnesium. The adult human body contains approximately 20 to 25 grams of magnesium. About 60–70% of this magnesium is present in the bones in combination with calcium and phosphorus. The remaining 30 to 40% is distributed in various tissues and body fluids, mostly in the intracellular fluid. Functions. Magnesium helps in A. Regulating the passage of substances into and out of the cells. B. Maintaining the activity of many enzymes. Magnesium functions as a coenzyme in metabolism. C. Building bones and teeth. It is involved in bone mineralization. D. Maintaining the functions of the nervous system, whereby it helps in the passage of messages from one nerve cell to another. E. Maintaining smooth muscle action. And F. Building proteins. Sources, which are the food sources that are rich in magnesium. Magnesium is widely distributed in plant foods. The most concentrated sources of magnesium include nuts, groundnut, cashew nut, walnut, almond, oilseeds, sesame seeds, pulses, rajma, moth, beans, soybean, whole grains, wheat, bajra, jowar. Among seafoods, shellfish is particularly rich in magnesium. Other foods which contain appreciable amounts of magnesium include dark green leafy vegetables, peas, lotus stem, fish, salmon, haddock, seafoods, crab, oyster, and meat. Absorption and excretion. Magnesium is absorbed from the small intestine. The absorption of magnesium in the body is somewhat similar to that of calcium. When the body's demand increases, the absorption increases so as to meet the increased demand. Further, factors that interfere with calcium absorption, such as the presence of inhibitors in the diet, also interfere with magnesium absorption. The excretion of magnesium by the body is regulated by the kidneys. 5.3 Minerals required in smaller amounts. You have just studied about the minerals required in larger amounts by the body. There are other minerals required in very small amounts by our body. These minerals are called trace elements. Just a tiny amount required, but what significant functions they perform. Minerals like iron, iodine, zinc and copper belong to this group. Let us begin our study of trace elements with iron. 5.3.1 Iron. Iron is a trace element present in the body to the extent of 3 to 5 grams. Compare this to a mineral like calcium, which, as you learnt earlier, is present in the body to the extent of 1200 grams. Where is iron found in the body? Most of it is found in the blood, about 75%. All cells and tissues, especially the muscle tissues, contain a little iron, about 5%, and the rest of the iron, about 20%, is stored in the body. Organs such as the liver, spleen, kidney and bone marrow collectively. Functions. The study of iron and its functions is fascinating. After many years of research, there are still many puzzling aspects about the role of iron, especially about those related to brain functioning. Let us now study some of the known and well-established functions of iron. A. Oxygen transport. Iron is a major constituent of a red-colored compound called hemoglobin present in the blood. Iron is present in the hem part of hemoglobin. What is the role of hemoglobin? Hemoglobin is necessary for transport of oxygen to various parts of the body. Hemoglobin carries oxygen from the lungs to the tissues and in turn helps in carrying carbon dioxide from the tissues to the lungs, as indicated in figure 5.4. From the lungs, carbon dioxide is then exhaled. Carbon dioxide, in fact, is a waste product formed in all cells as a result of metabolism, and it needs to be removed from the body. B. Provision of oxygen for muscle contraction. Iron is also present in the muscle in the form of myoglobin. Myoglobin has the capacity to store oxygen. This oxygen is used for muscle contraction and for other immediate needs of the muscle cells. C. Promotion of oxidation within cells. Iron facilitates the complete oxidation of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins within the cell. This, of course, would result in the release of the energy locked up in these molecules. The role of iron in oxygen transport and release of energy is now clear to you. You know that energy is required for the various physical activities we perform every day. This is the reason why iron is crucial in helping us to perform physical work. Figure 5.4 Hemoglobin as a carrier for oxygen and carbon dioxide. Look at the screen for table content. -D. Iron plays an important role in the maintenance of specific brain functions like immediate memory, capacity to learn and attention span. E. Iron forms a vital component of certain enzymes and substances that aid in metabolism. F. Iron has protective functions as well. Like vitamin A, iron too helps in preventing infections. Food sources. Are you familiar with the rich food sources of iron? Liver is an excellent source. Other organ meats like kidney, spleen also contain substantial amounts of iron. Among the plant foods, the list of iron sources includes green leafy vegetables, like amaranth leaves, mustard leaves, colocasia leaves, mint leaves, cereals, like whole wheat flour, rice flakes, bajra, ragi, jowar, and pulses, especially the whole ones. Soybean is an example of a pulse containing good amounts of iron. Jaggery is another food that contains fair amounts of iron. We have mentioned several foods which contain substantial amounts of iron. However, we have a paradoxical situation here. There is so much of iron present in food and yet very little gets into the body. Why is this so? You would find the answer to this question in the subsequent section. Absorption and excretion. What happens to iron once it enters the body? The ingested iron gets absorbed from the upper part of the intestine. The extent of iron absorption from different foodstuffs varies. In general, its absorption from animal foods is high, but the amounts of iron absorbed from many of the plant sources is very low. This is because certain substances present in plant foods bind iron and hinder its absorption. These substances are called inhibitors. You would remember reading earlier that some plant foods such as green leafy vegetables and cereals contain fairly substantial amounts of iron. Unfortunately, they also contain inhibitors which prevent much of the iron from being absorbed. On the other hand, there are substances like protein and vitamin C present in foods that aid in the absorption of iron. These substances can be called enhancers. Figure 5.5. It is, therefore, suggested that protein-rich foods like milk and vitamin C-rich foods like oranges, lime, amla and guava should be included in the diet so as to promote the absorption of iron. The inclusion of animal foods, if possible, in the diet greatly enhances iron absorption. After absorption, iron is transported by the blood to the body cells where it performs its varied functions. Some amount of iron is also transferred to the storage sites in the body such as the liver, spleen, kidney and the bone marrow. Very small amounts of iron are lost through sweat and urine. In the case of women, iron losses include the above, but in addition fairly substantial amounts are lost in the menstrual flow. Figure 5.5. Nutrients that increase iron absorption. Look at the screen for table content. Check your progress. Exercise 3.1. List the foods containing inhibitors/enhancers that decrease/increase absorption of iron. 5.3.2. Iodine. Do you remember the last time you went to buy salt? You would probably have noticed the packets of iodized salt. Figure 5.6. Iodized salt, in fact, is table salt to which iodine is added. But why are we taking so much care to add iodine to the salt? Why is iodine so important? Let us try to find out. Figure 5.6. Iodized salt. Look at the screen for table content. The adult body contains a very small amount of iodine which amounts to only 20-25 milligrams. The maximum concentration of this mineral is found in the thyroid gland, which is located in the neck region. Functions. Why do we need iodine? Iodine is a component of the hormone thyroxine secreted by the thyroid gland. Thyroxine regulates the rate of oxidation within the cells. If this regulation does not take place, both physical and mental growth will be affected. Iodine is also believed to help in the functioning of nerve and muscle tissues. Food sources. The amount of iodine in most foods is limited and it varies widely depending on the iodine content of soil and water. Crops such as vegetables, especially those grown in coastal areas where iodine content of the soil is high, have substantial amounts of iodine. In hilly areas, however, the iodine content of both the soil and water is low. Hence the crops grown in such areas contain little iodine. The iodine content of animal foods like eggs, dairy products and meat depends, of course, on the iodine content of the food that is part of the animal's diet. Seafoods like fish, shellfish are among the best sources of iodine. It is now known that soils are deficient in iodine not only in the hilly regions but in Savannah, other parts of our country. This means that the foods grown in these areas would also be poor in iodine. In such a situation, it becomes important to ensure that iodized salt forms a part of the daily diet. Another aspect that needs mentioning here is that certain plant foods like cabbage, cauliflower, radish, lady's finger, groundnuts and oilseeds contain substances called goitrogens which interfere with the body's ability to produce and use thyroxine. Goitrogens can be easily destroyed on thorough cooking. Hence it is advisable to cook the foods mentioned above properly before eating. Absorption and excretion. Dietary iodine is absorbed in the small intestine in the form of iodides, compounds of iodine. These iodides are carried by the blood to the thyroid gland. About 1/3 of the iodine is picked up by the thyroid gland and the rest is excreted. Check your progress. Exercise 4.1. Match the items in column A with those in column B. Look at the screen for table content -2. Indicate whether the following statements are true or false. Correct the false statements. A. Plant foods enhance the absorption of iron. True/false. B. Iodine content of food is influenced by the iodine content of soil/water. True/false. C. Iron influences the capacity to work. True/false. D. Maximum concentration of iodine is found in the blood. True/false. E. Iron is stored in the bones. True/false. F. Thyroxine carries oxygen to the cells. True/false. G. Vitamin C helps in the absorption of iron. True/false. H. Most of the iron and iodine present in food is absorbed by the intestine. Only a small part is excreted. True/false. 5.3.3. Other zinc and copper are two of the other trace elements present in our body. Though present in traces, these minerals perform certain vital functions. Zinc is essential for growth and, like iron, has protective functions as well. Copper helps in hemoglobin synthesis and is an essential constituent of certain enzymes. Zinc and copper are widely distributed in nature and are not usually lacking in Indian diets. You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learn IGNOU. 5.4. Let us sum up. In this unit you studied about the inorganic substances called minerals. Minerals constitute only 4% of the total body weight but perform major functions in the body. They provide protection against diseases and regulate metabolic processes. Some, like calcium and phosphorus, help to build the body. Body requirements of minerals vary. Minerals like calcium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium are required in larger amounts by the body. They are basically concerned with development of bones and teeth and with the regulation of body processes. Figure 5.7. On the other hand, minerals like iron, iodine, zinc, copper are required in much smaller amounts and constitute a very small proportion of the body's inorganic material. These minerals are called trace elements and each performs its own specific functions. Iron is a major constituent of hemoglobin which helps in the transport and release of oxygen in the cells. It has a vital role in maintaining physical work capacity and cognition and has protective and regulatory functions as well. Iodine, on the other hand, is required for the synthesis of the thyroid hormone thyroxine, which regulates the rate of oxidation within the cells. Figure 5.7. Key functions of minerals. Look at the screen for table content - The absorption, utilization and excretion of each of these minerals varies in the body. The absorption of some of the minerals like calcium and iron is dependent on the presence of inhibitors and enhancers in foods. 5.5 Glossary Ash, the residue left when any matter is burnt. Extracellular fluid refers to the fluid present outside the cell. Immediate memory, the memory of an event immediately preceding a given moment. Intracellular fluid, the fluid present inside the cells. Mineralization, the process of deposition of minerals in the bone. Synthesis, the process of forming or producing a substance in the body. Thank you. We will see you in the next video.